Hey, welcome to CKLU 96.7. This is 5 o'clock, the 5 o'clock hour here on Tuesday. We've got Creator Conversations. I'm your host, Jess, from ourcreator.com. You can check Our Creator out, obviously, at our web address, www.ourcreator.com. That's OURCRATER.com. You can also find us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter to follow us for all sorts of community updates on what's going on in your area. We've got a few posts that have come up this week. We've got an update of a past edition of Creator Conversations. We did some special coverage over Up Here Festival in August. So you can find that episode uploaded today. We also just did a really cool book talk with a local author named Laura about her book that's coming out very soon about Megan Duhamel and Eric Radford and their triumph to a full set of gold medals in figure skating. So that's something really exciting that you can check out as well. So keep posted, though, for more updates there. This week we are getting a little bit spooky for the fall season. We have Sudbury Burlesque. It's very quickly become one of the highlight events, I would say, for the Halloween season. They do a big, giant Halloween show every year. Giant sellout it's a huge success every year. And if you haven't gone yet, I definitely recommend you do. There's lots of places you can get tickets, or check SudburyBurlesque.com, or look for them on Facebook to find your tickets. But yeah, they put on an amazing show every year. So you have not gone yet, you are truly missing out on something. So this year is going to be their 4th year of their Monsters Ball. The theme this year is Night at the Haunted Theater. Very fitting, considering the venue is in fact the Grand Theater, which is possibly rumored to be haunted. Actually, I have heard of quite a few rumors about it being haunted. So if you have any spooky stories, let us know at Our Creator. Write into us. So we got in touch with them to learn a little bit more about the show and the burlesque experience. They had lots of information to share, so let's hop to it. We had 2 of the boylesque members of the group. We had Colin Edie and Marty Bourgeois, who joined us, and they were really great to talk to. They had lots of things to tell us about, lots of insights. So tune in. We're going to learn a lot more. So this week's episode of Creator Conversations, we have 2 of the boys from Sudbury Burlesque in today. So we have Colin and Marty. Thanks, guys, for coming in today to talk about your big Halloween show. So can you get things started just by kind of giving us a rundown of what we can expect from Monsters Ball this year?
Well, we always try to top the year before. So this one, we're bringing in, for the first time ever, a European headliner. So we have somebody coming all the way from Belgium. And as well, we've sourced some people from Toronto and Ottawa. And we have our amazing local performers. This year, it's going to be badder and better and scarier and spookier. And there's lots of great group numbers and solos and a fun time to be had by all.
Awesome. So every year you guys kind of do a little bit of a theme. So this year it's Night at the Haunted
Theater. So we are playing that up a bit. I don't want to give too much away, but there's kind of a phantom element, and what happens in a haunted theater that kind of brings that story comes out in like the emceeing and in between scenes and acts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So how did you guys decide to go with that for the theme this year?
Well, it's a Halloween show, so I find like that time of year there's just so many different ways you can go. It's endless, the creative possibilities, and we kind of came upon that idea, and it just sounded really, the Grand Theater is like an old opera house, and it already lends itself well. That venue is just so spooky and
actually haunted.
It's actually haunted. Yeah. Like there's multiple ghosts and demons, so we have lots to work with that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, since Burlesque has found a bit of a new home with the historic Grand Theater, so how does putting on a show in such an atmosphere change the production?
It makes it very easy. We're very lucky. The lighting system that they have there is really top notch, and Chris and Pat, who help design the lighting and are really awesome. Like Dan, the owner of the venue, is just really great with letting us kind of take over for that weekend, and they already go all out with their own decor. So it just, like I said, it lends itself so well, like the architecture inside, and it really just paves the way for the theme.
Yeah, I find that as a performer, you feel just that much more inspired being in an environment that, like you said, it's already a theater. Burlesque is very over the top, so you feel like you can almost add that kind of flair. Like you could walk through the halls with your head held high, feeling like, Cary Grant or Rock Hudson or something like that, walking down. It really does create an atmosphere. Although some of the other venues were great, some of them almost felt like business. I mean, one of them actually was a boardroom where we were using it as a change room, but this is just fun to have these mirrors with the lights over top of them, and knowing that at some point somebody actually, pretty famous may have performed there and used your dressing room kind of thing, and you're in that same space. So the vibrations, I find, are still very much there.
Awesome. You talked about one of the special guests you guys have coming in, a headliner from Europe. So can you give us any sneak peeks of other performers you have coming in for the show?
Yeah, I'm very excited because it's like each and every show is just so unique with like the combination of different performers that come together. For instance, we have our first drag king performer performing at this show coming up, Maximum Capacity from Toronto. I don't want to give too much away about our headliner. You have to follow us maybe on our social media to get the little spoilers, but her name's Lori, and she has a lot of accolades from the burlesque community. So I believe it's 2013, she got Most Innovative Act at the Burlesque Hall of Fame performance. I might be wrong about that, but some of our performers as well. One of them was on France's Got Talent, Bombay, who's coming up from Toronto. So a lot of really neat specialty acts from some international performers that have already traveled, and they bring that different kind of energy and kind of inspire us and draw us to to travel as well and bring that flair of Sudbury, what we have in our community, out to like New York or Seattle, some of the other places that we've been. But it's really inspiring to have international talent coming in and being like, Sudbury has a burlesque community. I've heard of it, and we're getting submissions. Like this year we had submissions from Germany, from all places all in the States, all across the globe. Yeah. So it was really cool to get that.
Come be in our little troupe.
Yeah, you want to come and perform in Sudbury? Sudbury is just such a huge mecca for the performing arts and for artists. And I think we really underestimate ourselves. And I think that's what our show really proves: the production value, the thought that we put in it, and just this different flavor and caliber of performers.
Awesome. So the costume contest is always a huge hit every year.
People go all out.
They really do.
Punches, man. Nuts.
So what kind of costumes are you looking for when you're scanning the crowd, deciding who's going to be in the running? What kind of things are you looking for?
Homemade goes a long way. Quality is always there, but I think it's when you can almost see the seam, where you know that somebody spent an extra 20 minutes trying to get in there with their serger or whatever.
Effort, definitely seeing effort. If you see a costume that makes you go whoa, or kind of takes you back, and you're like, that look is a spitting image of that iconic look, or very hilarious. I think last year's winner was she was Pennywise, but Pennywise with a giant open, agape, gnarly mouth, like when Pennywise is going to consume your soul, your childlike energy. But
I saw Red Green one year. Somebody showed up as Red Green, and it was a woman. She was dressed up as Red Green, and she had rolls of duct tape with her, and I was just like,
that's niche.
I mean, you probably put your costume together at Value Village, but good God, that's amazing.
It's the most exciting.
If you went to Southern Ontario in that outfit, no one would get it.
Those throwbacks that only some people will kind of get and recognize, or a select few. So we look for really any kind of effort. We appreciate anybody who takes the time to celebrate and put the time into dress the theme and have fun.
Awesome. So what are maybe some of your personal favorite costumes that you've caught at Monsters Ball over the years?
We had a friend that showed up 2 nights in a row and had 2 different costumes, and both were over the top. I don't remember what it was the first night, but the second night, she was a full-out lobster. And I don't know how she made a lobster sexy, but it worked, man. Like, that was a decked-out lobster.
A lot of confused feelings with seafood.
She was killing it. That lobster was good. We've seen some Rick and Morty ones, like earlier on, where the season 1 and 2 were coming out, and people were showing up with these giant paper mache heads. They were great.
Wow.
It's neat, like, even thinking back to our first Monsters Ball at the Steelworkers Hall, I think some of our performers, Cara Lamel and Angus McDixon, were dressed up as Beetlejuice and Lydia.
Yeah.
And then years later, at Monsters Ball 3, they did a duet as Beetlejuice and Lydia. So it was like a weird and they were in the audience that first time, looking at, and like, you know, they're friends and they've been involved, but then they got to kind of take that, and that's a lot of fun with the neo burlesque scene, like what we do, where it's like we can take these characters and these costumes and blend a little bit of, you know, that theme. That's why Halloween is just so fun, because people want to see those themes, and they're coming expecting to see.
And the people that don't show up in costumes, I mean, they
don't get in, actually.
Yeah,
they're banned.
You're
refused service at the door.
They're a very small minority, and I hate to use that word, but it's true. Like, okay, cool, you didn't have time or whatever, but you know, you just got off work, you rushed over. But it's crazy the amount of people that come out and just are like, no, I know it's not Halloween tonight, but I want to look like this for as long as possible.
Yeah,
they put some effort. It's great.
Well, you go so many days a year where you're just restricted to like wearing whatever, and it's like, I want to put something. And a lot of people just wear, like, you know, corsetry and stuff like that coming to the show. Like I heard, I was serving a table, and then they kind of made the connection that, you know, I'm doing the shows and stuff, and she turns to her friends who had never been to a show and say, I wore a bustier and like fishnets, and I was half out there, but I felt so confident and so great, and nobody judged me. And I mean, it is Halloween, and like they always make that joke, like, what am I going to be? A sexy stripper clown? Well, I am. Okay.
But costumes are going to be sexy, and that is all.
And that's okay. You can do that. Or if you don't have time for a costume, that's cool too. Mm-hmm. Just come to the show.
Yeah,
just come and have a great time. Yeah. Right? So I've heard that you have been working on a routine of all new burlesque performers for this year's show. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us how it's been working with a whole crew of newbies and getting them ready?
It's amazing. You know, we're really thankful to have new blood and new submissions every year. And Jess, my partner, who does the group choreography, I get to do the Burlesque group choreography, and she does all the group numbers. So she's taken there's like 16 members in this one act. 14 or 16. I'm trying to remember. Over a dozen performers in this one act. And everybody has different kind of levels of skill set, but they're all performers. They're all natural, and it's kind of neat to see how they bring that all together. And the number looks really great, and they're having so much fun. And that's another thing about having new people, having that new energy and positivity, where this is a new experience for them. And, you know, we want to grow our family and like give that opportunity to most.
But having said that, though, like, my first show as a performer was a Monsters Ball, and that was probably about 3 years ago now, give or take. And the submission process is always very well received. And as a newbie, as somebody who had seen a few shows and known a lot of the performers, Jess and Colin make it very easy to come in and present yourself, and the groups are very welcoming, and it's nice for somebody who, like, I had little to no dancing abilities. You know, I had a little bit of high school acting, stuff like that. I did a lot of improv in high school, but I had no idea how I was going to pull this off. And the groups are always a really great way to start off. Because you, right off the hop, you get that family feel of like, okay, well, maybe that move's not for you, but like, let's help you. Nobody's looking at you going like, oh, you know, 2 left feet over here is messing up our number again. Like, it's a really.
How did you know I called you 2 left feet?
Saw it written on the bathroom wall there.
Oh, okay.
2 left feet can't dance. But it's really nice that they've got that very nurturing, because I've seen other burlesque crews in bigger cities, and I'd be terrified to join them.
Yeah.
So,
like rather than throwing them to the wolves in a solo routine, right? Like let's let you guys all ease into this.
They ease us in, and it's always a very.
We try to have that open community at the same time. Like I'm glad. Thanks for saying that.
No
but
problem.
You know, like I do feel that I am also like kind of. Can I say ass?
Sure.
You just did.
You just
like
did.
kind of a hard ass. Like when I'm in rehearsal, I'm like, okay, do it again. Now just go over here and know exactly what I'm thinking. 5, 6, 7, 8. And it can be like a tedious, very intense process. Like our schedule for rehearsals, like we're in the studio 4 times a week with different groups, and we work. Like we'll work with like the soloists and like to create and build their number, and we'll work with the group ones. So thank you for saying that, but at the same time, these people are putting in a lot of work. Yeah. It's not an easy cakewalk where it's like, okay, put on a costume, you're going to come out here, and this is going to be so fun, and get a little naked. No, it's a lot of
facing, lot of sweating,
a lot of sweating, and a lot of like you're like building something. The creative process can be grueling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you guys have never made it aggressive for us. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people want to join burlesque because it's very body positive and it's very empowering. But it's nice for me personally. I think that although I've got all this encouragement, I've never felt like I had to work for the encouragement. The encouragement has been there since day one. It's always very constructive. So again, it's just nice to not go into a drill instructor's regiment. It's structured and it's nice. And I think if you stick to it, the numbers work. And I think that's why Sudbury Burlesque has worked for so long. We got good leadership.
Awesome. Man, well, you guys have both, Colin, obviously you've been with the troupe since the beginning. Marty, you've been with it for a few years.
Yeah.
So can you give us any teasers of what you guys are working on for your routines for this year?
Nudity.
No.
Nudity. For this year, I feel like I always try to do something different. I always try to add a little different element, and the way that it's kind of grown is I try to keep that tease element really in there, and the humor and the little tongue-in-cheekness, and I try to grow that. And at the same time, I want to challenge these guys with more complex choreography and moving formations. So that I feel like it's a more elevated act than that has been in the past, and it's a lot of fun. I feel like it's really sexy at points, and it's really funny. We always try to balance the show. So we look at what we have, and we're like, it's feeling really dark, or it's too funny, or we try to balance it. So I think it's going to be a good match of hilarity, monstrosity, and absurdity, and nudity. A lot of good things. A lot of good things. And at the same time, too, I'm trying to work with these guys, too, because we're going to New York the month after.
Oh.
So I'm trying to take an old act that we've done before and refinesse it for us to perform in New York, because we did it at Monsters Ball 3.
3. Yeah, 3. Last year, yeah.
Last year. And so it's always taking... We always want to elevate what we've done in the past. So
can you reveal that number a little bit?
Yeah. So we did Freddy's Dream, where we were 3 iconic horror figures: Jason, Michael Myers, and Freddy Krueger, and it.
Getting some saucy shenanigans.
And it's basically kind of like that classic battle, but on stage with stripping, and we all become great friends in the end. So now we're going to storm the Big Apple and
scare the pants off.
So excited to bring a new act for Monsters Ball 4, and right after, right on that rush, go to New York and perform too.
Whoa. That's a lot. That's a lot going on.
So it's just a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut to our first music break, but before that, can you tell everyone where they can find more information about the event and get their tickets?
Yes. So SudburyBurlesque.com is your best bet to find physical ticket locations and find the links for the online tickets, or Facebook or Instagram. You can find us at Sudbury Burlesque. If you're downtown, you can find tickets at One Sky, at Bombshell Beauty Saloon, and if you stop by Studio 613 Electric Tattoo Company, they're one of our monster sponsors, a very awesome tattoo studio, and they have physical tickets.
Hey, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. So this hour for Creator Conversations, we've been catching up with two of the guys from Sudbury Burlesque, Colin and Marty, two of the representatives from the Boylesque troupe. So they've been hard at work getting ready for the Monsters Ball 4 show night at the Haunted Theatre coming up at the Grand. That's going to be October 26th, 27th. You can get tickets at sudburyburlesque.com. So definitely grab those before it's too late. Now, Colin kind of teased that part of the theme for this year's show will be sort of like a phantom haunted theater, obviously, situation. And I've heard a few rumors over the years about, the Grand possibly being one of many haunted venues around Sudbury area. But if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, for the first time ever, there's going to be a haunted house in the Grand. It's going to be Fear Theater, so that is coming up. That's actually starting tomorrow. So Wednesday the 3rd is the very first day, and going for the rest of the month, $15 per 5 out of 5 on the scare meter, they promise. So that's pretty exciting. There's a few other haunted houses that you can check out look for sure, but that is one that we're pretty excited to check out at the Grand. So lots of things to look for, right? So we're going to go into our first music segment here. So we've got a little bit of a Halloween-inspired playlist we're going to go with here. So first, we've got Deo from Harry Belafonte. I think you all know where this is from. But also, Colin kind of mentioned two star-crossed burlesque performers who he became a little closer, dressed up as Beetlejuice and oh my goodness, why can't I remember her name? But you know who I'm talking about. And then last year they also did a performance together. So Lydia, that's who I'm thinking about. Then we're also going to play a song called Morticia from the Addams Family musical. That's coming up very shortly from Theatre Cambrian. Actually, one of the burlesque performers, Starlet Dresden. You can catch her also under the name Starlet Satine. She is going to be starring in that production as Morticia, so very fitting to play this particular song. So let's head into the music here, and we'll be back shortly to talk more about burlesque. Thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. We can't play the music right here, but check out below for the link to this week's playlist, as well as all the links you need for this week's guest. Make sure you're subscribed to Our Creator on all your feeds. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Our Creator, and use the hashtag Our Creator to be featured. Hey, welcome back to the studio here in 96.7 CKLU, your Laurentian radio station. So we are back with another hour of Creator Conversations. We just took a quick music break, so we had Deo by Harry Belafonte from Beetlejuice. If you caught the Sudbury Burlesque Monster Ball last year, you would have caught a really great routine from Carol Lamel and Hugh Dixon. They did Deo actually together as Lydia and Beetlejuice. It was pretty cute. So we also had Morticia from the Addams Family musical, which very coincidentally, or maybe not at all, because she really does fit the role. Starlet Dresden, or you might also know her as Starlet Satine from Sudbury Burlesque, is starring in the role of Morticia in Theatre Cambrian's production of the Addams Family. So you can catch that at Sudbury Theatre Centre. That's November 15th to the 24th. It's going to be a really fun show, so definitely don't be shy to check it out. And they've been working really hard on the production, getting it ready. So definitely excited to see that. As well, if you're getting into the spirit of this season here, guess what opens up this weekend? Pumpkinferno, the 5th annual Pumpkinferno. So it is opening October 5th. I believe that's Friday, going all the way to the 28th. If you've never been before, it is quite a spectacle. It is really, really cool to see all the scapes they put together with carved pumpkins and lanterns and all sorts of crazy things. So maybe go check it out, go home, try to carve up your own pumpkins. Get a little inspired, right? Really get into it for the season. So we've been talking this hour with the folks from Sudbury Burlesque. We've been talking with Marty and Colin, two of the Boylesque members of the troupe, and they've been giving us a lowdown on everything that we can expect for Monsters Ball 4. So that's coming up October 26th and 27th at the Grand. You can grab your tickets right now at SudburyBurlesque.com. They've also got a slew of physical ticket vendors. If that's your style, you can check that out as well. But let's find out more about some of the backstory, where their characters came from and how they got started.
So we're back again after a music break. We're talking this week with Colin and Marty from Sudbury Burlesque, two of the Boylesque members of the troupe. We talked in our first half a lot about Monsters Ball 4 coming up. That is the end of October 27th, 28th?
26th, 27th.
26th, 27th.
Yeah, it's a Friday, Saturday. 2 nights only.
2 nights only at the Grand, so you can get your tickets. There's lots of locations. We'll talk about that after. But I want to talk about your characters for Burlesque. So, Colin, you have 2 characters you kind of flip between, MC Unicorn and Brenda from accounting. What a lovely lady she is. So tell us about your characters, where you kind of got the idea. How do you get into character for something like that?
Well, a lot of it, to have a stage persona, it's a good thing to have because you can kind of separate that from yourself personally. So your personal and your outside life can stay over here, and then really the sky's the limit for this performer, this new clean slate, when you're constructing a character. MC Unicorn was really just born out of our first show, and it's like, I love unicorns. Like, that's just personally for me, like, who doesn't,
Oh my God, yeah, we've had a real serious connection over The Last Unicorn.
Yeah,
everyone should watch that movie.
If you haven't watched the animated or read the book,
if they haven't, we should just do an entire show.
Actually, I have the book
around,
right here, Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, I love unicorns! But MC Unicorn was really the personification of that kind of childlike innocence, but at the same time kind of sexual, animalistic magic that I just wanted to have as an MC, something that, was ambiguous and androgynous and hilarious, but at the same time forgivable and like virgin-like. So that, because those are all qualities that I strive to have in my personal life.
Boy.
Thank you. And Brenda was born by accident. I went to a party, and it was called an opposite party, and you were supposed to dress how you thought your opposite would be, and I thought an accountant who was like middle-aged, single woman who puts Panama Jack in her coffee cup sometimes, works really hard on the weekends, but has an inner desire to be a performer, and that's basically how Brenda came through. And Brenda just, as my drag character, really helped. And they were excuses for me to become and be the performer that I wanted to be on the stage. My first solo ever with Sudbury Burlesque was a Brenda solo after the character was created, and it allowed me to. I was self-conscious to strip and to do all that stuff and to MC, but as these characters, it was,
this is what these characters are born to do.
They're born to do it, and then slowly, you realize that is you. You're doing that. You're just using not an excuse but a conduit to focus and funnel your energy that you've already had, and excuse it out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. So your character, Marty, Jackrabbit Slim.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Anybody who knows me knows that I tattoo under a different name, right?
Okay.
I tattoo under the name of Hugh Bastard. That was something that was given me in an apprenticeship. It was suggested to me as a burlesque name, and I decided that I kind of wanted to go a little bit of a different route and separate it. So anybody who knows movies will know that Jackrabbit Slim is the name of the restaurant where John Travolta does the dance with Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
So I kind of thought, like, you know what, it'd be neat to have kind of like that tough guy rockabilly kind of thing going on. So that's where the name came from. And it kind of like Colin said, I didn't really know who Jack was until I did a solo. For me, performing was with the boys, and I was in a group. And when I started doing solos, that's when I started to realize, okay, like, when I'm doing this number as a character, what is this character doing? And I thought to myself, every once in a while I would hit snag with the character and think, like, that move's not going to work, and, like, this number's a little weird, and why is it weird? And that's when I realized, like, because I'm thinking of it as a person trying to perform a number, now I feel that I perform as Jack. And like Colin said, Jack is very much an extension of who I kind of want to be. Society would never, ever let me be Jack. I would get arrested for several things. Jack is rather pompous. He's super ballsy in more than one way. He's very upfront, and he's got that kind of greaser attitude, like, I'm going to light a match on your face and smoke my cigarette and blow the smoke in your face. So it became the idea that, like, you know, when I do a number, the character that's there, whether I'm, you know, being like the dirty mailman in the number that I did, or you know, turning into a werewolf, I'm not going to be this little introverted character who's like, oh no, I'm turning into a werewolf. I'm going to be that guy that's like, hey, check this out. My clothes is coming off. I'm going to grow fangs and teeth and hair, and you're going to love every minute of it because I'm on stage. Obviously, I would never live my life like that. I would get punched repeatedly. But it's nice in burlesque because, again, it's just that little bit where you can let yourself go wild and within the confines of that and be, like you know, maybe overconfident and strut your stuff. And you know, for that time on stage where everybody is watching you, you're giving them something that they genuinely want to see beyond just your act. So that, for me, that's where Jack came from.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us about getting started, like, for your first performance that you remember doing, like, a solo for. What were your feelings, like, leading up to that moment, to getting on stage?
Well, my first number was in a group, which was none the easier because Colin went, all right, so this is your first show and you're doing 2 numbers and they're both groups, and the first one you're going to sing. And I was like, oh, cool, I can't do that either. Awesome.
Great.
And 5, 6, 7, 8. La 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 la.
But my first solo, I was super excited because I had gotten a few number of groups done, and I was starting to get really confident, and then I started putting together a solo, and I had these really cool ideas. And the really nice part is that I didn't have time to look at myself and go, what are you doing? This is a stupid idea. You're going to show up on stage, you're going to screw everything up, and you're going to look like a moron. I didn't have the time to do that because I had Colin and Jess, who were starting in with me doing creative sessions, who were like, all right, so you don't feel good about that? Here's maybe what you should try. And like, it was so nice because I didn't have time to doubt myself. It was great. And then, of course, you know, 5 minutes before you get on stage, you're, you know, in your dressing room sweating like a hog and trying not to throw up, but
You're like, what did I get myself into? How do I get out of this?
yeah, but the minute you get on there and you realize that spotlight is on you and not, you know, 5 or 6 other people or like 12 other people, man, your courage comes out of nowhere. And getting off of that stage after your very first solo, I mean, there are very few things in life that compare. I'm sure skydiving is pretty fun, but I'd rather be performing. So yeah, I you know, to anybody out there that's had to struggle with that, I kind of feel bad because my first solos were, I mean, awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, just great support.
Yeah.
It's funny to call it a solo when really I've got so much support behind me, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
That was my first solo.
Well, Colin, you've been performing for quite a while, obviously, as one of the founding members. So do you still kind of experience any of those same feelings as you're about to go on stage for a performance?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a toss-up because you kind of have to train yourself to physically be there, emotionally, and like the energy. Like, there's so many factors that go in, and I find, you know, I can be a bit of a flibberty-gibbet like come showtime because I'm like a little bit of a scatterbrain because I'm all over the place. Like, I'm producing the show and like I have a zillion people asking me questions, and I was like, I gotta get this group number together, and then I have a solo, and then, you know, sometimes I find that if I can't zen out and focus, that my act will suffer. I mean, it will, like, to maybe the outside eye, it looks great, everything was fun, I was hitting the choreo, but the fact that I didn't feel present can be really, as Sizzle would say, can rattle me. That would rattle me. But I think over the years, I've been lucky to meet some, like when we had Poison Ivory perform and we did some workshops with her. She said some things to me as a performer that I always draw on. Some techniques to ground yourself, like physically actually maybe touch a part of your body that would help ground you, like rub your legs or, rub your chest or just focus on your breathing and bring yourself back to that physical realization that you're about to go on and just calm yourself down and get back in there physically. And then kind of to think about your relationship as a performer with the audience that you think. In burlesque, especially, there's always a burlesque virgin in the audience. And I try to remind myself of that because it's going to be somebody's first experience taking in this performance, and that you want to like throw that energy out there and impress the shat out of them. You want to do your job as a performer, and like first and foremost you want to entertain or send that message, or really, I find that helps kind of like empower me, like, okay, yes, I can do this and I'm going to knock their socks off, and so it's a little bit of a recipe of that, the experience, the grounding yourself, and then a bit of the unknown, that you go out there and you just throw yourself in there, and it's kind of a weird time warp with like the whole audience looking at you. It creates this bubble of like a weird, like, you're almost underwater, so you gotta be in this environment and just like go with it, and a little bit of improv and just vibe. I don't know if I really answered there, so but like
all of that.
Yeah, all of those things. I still get nervous, but I find sometimes I can just go in there and it's natural and it just happens for me. And then sometimes the struggle is real and it's all an act, but there's a happy medium and all of it is rewarding. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so for any routine, costuming is a huge part of putting everything together.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's kind of your take on costuming? How do you get started?
Conceptually, I usually I source a lot of like different pictures and stuff, and I'll kind of put it out there and put some reference photos for the guys, and I'll be like, what do we have already, so we don't have to spend, because we try to increase our costuming budget every year to knock everybody's socks off. But this year I've got matching items for the guys, and then we had one of our members who also does shirt pressing and stuff put a design on the shirts, and then we have them, and then I had Marty alter them by like removing some of the accoutrements on them, and now we're going to add like gems on top of that. So there's like a huge process of layering and gathering these little bits and pieces and spending more money than we make on looking good. But, a little can go a long way, and we have little crafting nights, and we get together and we do that.
Great, yeah, I find for solos, sometimes that's the thing. Just get ready. Run that credit card, man. I've had props come all the way out from California.
What?
And it's one of those
limbs,
things, limbs.
He paid an arm and a leg for an actual leg.
I did. Yeah. But, it's one of those things where you don't want to break the bank and you don't want to be snooty about it. Like, oh, I'm going to buy $10,000 worth of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, you get out of it what you put in, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you're looking at your credit card going, well, my kid needs diapers, but those rhinestones are smashing, so I'm just gonna stay at work late that night. Yeah.
I could pick up a shift.
Yeah, exactly.
It is like that. Time is money. It's like, I'll pick up an extra shift, and that's part of my costume. Okay.
So when people think of burlesque, obviously the first thing they possibly think of is the ladies, not necessarily the guys. Mm-hmm. So how do you find the reaction when you guys get on stage, a big boylesque troupe? Do you find that people are like, they're like stoked, they're ready for it?
Yeah.
They're surprised?
I think we have an advantage almost when we're performing, where right away when the audience registers, here's a bunch of guys in Sudbury too, like where we would register, like I like, not saying that we're like regular Joe Schmoes, but like, we look and we are just, we're fathers, business owners, just these guys have different 9 to 5s than, Magic Mike.
Yeah.
So right away, just being on stage, people are like, "Oh my, bravo for getting up there." And I find when the girls get up there, like, they kind of have something more to prove. In a weird way, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think like people are just like, "Oh, the guys are so goofy," and right away they're smiling and clapping. Yeah. I don't want to take that as like it's always going to be like that, and we don't work hard.
And it's not everybody that thinks that way, but it's odd because I find, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of our crowd is female. It's a pretty solid mix, but I find there's always just that 60% that's women. And I find that the women in the crowd are always very receptive because I find it's not something that you would get as often. You can go to a strip club here in Sudbury, but to see men get naked, you kind of got to wait for a specific night, right? Mm-hmm. But, and like you said, I find that the guys in the crowd, they're not like, "Oh, these dudes are on stage," because, like you said, they can identify because, although some of us are pretty fit, none of us look like the dudes on the movie screens. You know what I mean?
With like 16 packs.
Yeah, you're not intimidated being like, "Well, that guy's truck probably sucks, whatever." They can identify with us. I've had guys come up afterwards and be like, "Dude, high five when you did that thing with the nipple tassels." And usually these are probably the guys in high school that maybe weren't, so nice to the art kids. And now they're coming out and they're like, "Oh, you're swinging tassels and the leather chaps like that was," and they're high-fiving you, and it's great. I've actually, I don't know about you, but I've actually had people come up to me after the show and be like, "That show you did last week was great. I have not been able to keep my husband or my wife off of me all week because of the show." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you're welcome, I guess." That wasn't the point, but cool. So
go to Sudbury Burlesque. It'll save your sex life.
I wasn't going to say it, but I'm glad you did.
You heard it here on CKLU.
Tune in now.
Perfect. So what are some of your tips for people that maybe are going to go to the show and then decide that this is something that they might want to take part in themselves? What are your tips for somebody who might want to try out for another show?
Well, I think definitely don't just focus in on what Sudbury Burlesque is doing. You are inspired and you're feeling passionate about performing, especially in the burlesque realm. There's some huge communities where you can take a pointer or two from right next door, like Toronto, New York, Montreal, Ottawa. That's close proximity. And online, do your research, find out what aspect you really are falling in love with. Is it the classic vibe that you like? Is it the neo-burlesque where you can, tell a story and you can, portray some of your favorite characters? Or is it the social or political nods of like being in charge of your own body, being confident, and being able to like kind of build that confidence and break out of a certain box maybe you feel like you've been put in. Once you find out that, building an act will come a bit easier because it'll be more true to yourself as a performer. But we have people that submit and maybe we don't accept their act, or we don't they're not in the troupe right away, or we do offer workshops and stuff. We that's why I say don't focus and limit your view to what's just in front of you. If you're passionate about performing, reach out and try different things. Don't just, aside from ourselves, there's like other things that can kind of get you in the door for performing, like acting or artistry or dancing. So try something new that's not necessarily just burlesque, like throwing yourself in and just being like, okay, I bought some tassels and a corset and I'm putting on some high heels and I'm going to film myself and now bam, because it doesn't happen that easy. And there's a lot of like kind of hurdles personally and with the community around you kind of to get there. To become a stripper clown, you have to go through some important steps.
You have to jump through hoops.
Yeah, through hoops. Fishnets. You have to jump through fishnets.
Oh wow, what a challenge!
But I feel like bring it on, because
don't stop yourself. I think that's the biggest thing is confidence, because that goes a long way. I submitted a solo for the first number, and right away they're like, we'll wait for that number, but you should be in a group number. So it's just get your feet wet.
Yeah,
keep an open mind, and also
even attending shows, like that helps. Come to that show, and then we only have 2 or 3 a year, or maybe we'll do some private events. But head down to Toronto, go to Montreal, take in a show, or hire us, pay us lots of money to create a show for you.
We'll do your kid's bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
19
plus.
Okay, Colin, one more time. Where can people get their tickets? What are the dates for the shows?
So if you want to get your tickets for Monsters Ball 4, October 26th and 27th, you can go to sudburyburlesque.com, find out all the information there. We have lots of physical ticket locations. We've got Between Us Lovers Boutique, Studio 613, One Sky, Bombshell Beauty Supply, Saloon, and Hot Start. And then, of course, online. And if you know some of the performers, they may have some tickets on them personally. Find me in the street, track me down. I've got some Friday tickets. And I am going to push you to act now because tickets are moving faster than they ever have. And Saturday is almost half sold out. And it's not even October until, well, it is October. So
Yes.
It
is October.
It is. So get on it because now they're moving. And,
and it's a sell-out show every year, so don't be crying outside the door.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. So this hour we have been getting the lowdown on everything about Sudbury Burlesque and their upcoming show, the 26th and 27th of October. That is Monster Ball for a night at the Haunted Theater. So you better rush and get your tickets because they are going quick. So we're going to try and squeeze one last song in here before our hour is out here. And we'll be back in just a second to sign off here. Thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. We can't play the music right here, but check out below for the link to this week's playlist, as well as all the links you need for this week's guest. Make sure you're subscribed to Our Creator on all your feeds. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Our Creator, and use the hashtag Our Creator to be featured. All right, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. So we are signing off for another hour of Creator Conversations here. So we talked this hour with the folks from Sudbury Burlesque. We got Marty and Colin into the studio to give us the boylesque perspective on the great sport of being a stripper clown. So we're going to sign off here. Make sure you grab your tickets at sudburyburlesque.com. You can get those right now. The show is coming up on the 26th and 27th of October. That is Monsters Ball 4, Night at the Haunted Theater. So grab those before it's too late for sure. And we will see you there. So keep tuned in. We've got 6 Degrees coming up next.